All right, so what individual has had the greatest influence on your wrestling career?
For me, it would have to be Rick Tribbett. He was the first coach I ever had, and from the very beginning, I think he saw a lot of potential, and he basically, in those first 2 years, he put me in his back pocket, and we wrestled every day for 2 years straight. And he laid a foundation for future success, that I don't even think both of us expected to have. So it would definitely have to be Rick Tribbett.
Oh man, awesome, and he's a wonderful human.
He's a great guy.
Who was your wrestling idol when you were growing up?
It's funny. I got a lot of coaching friends who are still involved in the game, and they know everyone. They know every wrestler, all their stats, where they're from. I was never a fan of the sport like that. I just really enjoyed doing it. But instead of idols, I would have like missions. There would be guys I know who were kind of badasses, and they were like on my hit list. So I really didn't have idols. I had like targets.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And, you hear a lot of people say that. That's what that's what keeps them focused.
Yeah.
What personal attributes or abilities contributed the most to your success?
Oh, definitely. I was cerebral. I was crafty and technical because, I was this tall and 100 pounds back then. So everyone back then was short and stocky. They all had muscles. I never had any of that. So I think I was a bit of a technician. I was sneaky and crafty. I was a bit of a smarter, not harder kind of guy. So I think that's what helped me a lot.
All right. What is the most outstanding memory you have as a competitor in the sport of wrestling?
The first state title I ever won. I started wrestling freshman year of high school. And by my sophomore year, I'd won a state title. It was completely unexpected. So it was very exciting. And it kind of unlocked. It took the top off of this roof that I didn't even know was there. And it was just like, oh, you can do this. You can do anything. So that was probably one of the most exciting moments.
And went on to win 2 more.
Yeah, sure did.
Top certainly came off.
Yeah.
Throughout your wrestling career, is there a single most memorable match or event?
Easy. When I was in high school, there was this kid, Scotty Winston, and he was a man among boys. And I was the man in Florida, but you go out to nationals, you meet Scotty Winston from New Jersey, he just ragdolled everyone. I'm talking tech-palled everyone. No one scored a point on this kid. But in college, finally, when I developed a little bit and I was a man, I met Scotty Winston again in the blood round of the NCAA tournament to become an All-American for the first time. And I beat him, and it was a better feeling than winning a national title, I'll tell you what. And I gritted him out, and I broke him. I beat him the right way, and that was one of the most satisfying wins I've ever had in my entire life.
That's awesome. What made you get involved in the sport of wrestling?
I was a football player, and like I said, I just shot up. Before I knew it, I was 6'2" and 110 pounds, and everyone else was shorter, but they were widening out, and I just kept getting taller and skinnier. So I went into Rick Tribbett, the wrestling coach, and I was like, hey man, listen, I can't tackle these guys anymore. I need a little something to get them down. And of course, Rick just flipped that into turning me into one of his, and we took off with wrestling. But initially, it was just to get better at football. That was it.
It's awesome. You hear that a lot.
Yep.
If you had the opportunity to start your career over again, is there anything you would change?
The only thing I would change would be to stop and smell the roses a bit. I think a lot of us, serious competitors, we get so into the sport. I would grind and I would work hard and I would sacrifice and I would go and I would win a tournament. And I wouldn't even take a deep breath to smile. I would just be like, okay, next weekend, let's go. Just on to the next one. I never actually took a moment to embrace and enjoy how cool what was going on back then was. So if it were anything, it would just be to take a moment every once in a while and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I was always on to the next.
That's awesome. All right, so in conclusion, what would you like for people to remember about you?
Being known as a good athlete is cool and all, but I would hope that guys would just think I was a cool guy. I always just make them feel like they could go do it. I see a lot of these guys now, I see someone like a Joey Kosar, for example. I saw him in the lobby. I haven't seen him since I was a kid. And we were on national teams together. And I don't remember much about the trips, but I do remember smiling and laughing and goofing off with Joey. And even now, I haven't talked to him in 10 years. When I see him, we still giggled like little kids, And I think what I would want to be most remembered for, just he was a good guy, I liked Brandon.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
My pleasure.